while you are secure, although nobody's secure anymore, but while you have that money coming in, what is it that you love to do? What really tickles your heart? What gets your motor running? Is it knitting? Is it, baking cookies? Is it design? Like, what is it? I don't know. Making tacos? Who knows? But whatever that is, start, play with it, and start to sell it and see what happens.
Welcome to Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. I'm your host, Dr. Cynthia. With over 30 years in the corporate world, as a single mom, cancer survivor, and often the only woman in the C-suite, I understand the balancing act high-achieving women face. Now an executive coach and international speaker, my mission is to embolden every woman in the C-suite or on the rise to claim her agency and challenge the norms holding her back. Tailored for ambitious professional women, this show features candid conversations with powerful business leaders sharing their real stories of success and failure. If you're ready to look up and step up, you're in the right place. Join us and invest in your future today. Hello and welcome back to Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. I am your host, Dr. Cynthia, and this month we're exploring the purpose dimension of human flourishing, what it means to build a career and a life around what actually matters to you. My guest today spent 23 years climbing the ranks at IBM. By every conventional measure, title, tenure, results, that's a success story already written. But somewhere along the way, she realized that the ladder she'd climbed so well wasn't leading to where she actually wanted to go. So she walked away from it and built something entirely on her own. Heartbeat for Hire, a coaching and speaking practice built on a simple, disruptive idea. Heartbeats, not headcount. She's a two-time best-selling author, a Harvard guest lecturer, Apple News' top 10 business coach, and the host of a podcast ranked in the top 2.5%
Top
globally.
two.
But
Top two.
now down to 2. I love it. 2% globally. Correction. But what
Just
I
happened.
want to most talk to her about today isn't her resume. It's the moment she knew the resume wasn't enough. And so
Wow.
please welcome to the show, Lyndsay Dowd. Lyndsay, so thrilled to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes, and I'm gonna have to get your podcast tips on another side conversation. That's
Happy to.
amazing.
Yeah, it's
Congratulations.
exciting. It just happened. So all these shows that I'm doing, now I'm like, wait, it's top two. It's top two. So
Yeah, no, that's
pretty good.
awesome. You should be so proud of that.
Thank you.
And so many people benefiting from the work. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. And when we had kind of our early introductory call, we sort of hit it off. I think we have so many things that we share in common. The
Definitely.
big thing that, we talk about, we lead in with the bio is that you had this beautiful career at IBM, right? Amazing to have on your resume and a very successful climb. But take me back to the moment or the time where you started to realize maybe that wasn't
Yeah.
the end of the story for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, and let me just further emphasize what a big deal it was to leave IBM. My family put in 105 years at Big Blue. So it was my father, my husband, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and me. And I was the last one standing, and everyone thought I would die there. Um, but my mentors had left. They were going through some culture shifts I was not super keen on. And another company recruited me and said, would you come and lead a sales team for us? And so I kind of gave it some thought and said, well, it's better now than never. Let's do it. So I enthusiastically packed up my Big Blue legacy. Off I went, ready to take on the world. I had this great team who loved me. And in 6 short months, they fired me. And
Ugh.
I was gutted. I thought I was the only executive to ever be fired. I thought no one would ever work with me again. I was truly, truly devastated. And I felt so much shame and so much pain. And I'm not the girl who gets fired. I'm a girl who does the hard stuff. You call me in when you're out of ideas and you can't figure out how to move forward. And so this was really rough. And after a month of not being able to talk about it, I asked myself 3 questions. What am I really good at? What do I love to do? and how can I help people the most? And that
Mm,
last one, you don't really get to ask in corporate. So it was really important to me that whatever I did was connecting with people. It was something I really believed in, and I knew how to build modern leaders. And I knew how to create irresistible culture that drives results. So I bet on myself. I started my own company, and it was terrifying. And all that stuff I learned at IBM did not prepare me for entrepreneurship. But uh, I did what I knew, and I got to start coaching C-suites and individual leaders. I started speaking to companies. As you said, I wrote a couple of books. I started my podcast, started a live show, and was a stint. I did a short stint as a CRO for about 10 months. And right now, I'm working on building a bigger company that kind of turns the dial up quite a few notches on this whole leadership practice. So it's exciting. Can't talk too much about it yet, but
oh,
it'll be announced soon.
we'll have to have a part 2. We'll have a
Yes.
part 2
Yeah.
podcast, right? Where we come back to
Love
that.
it.
Gosh, there's so much I wanna unpack though about that
Moment.
disruptive moment.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're gonna talk about all this success, but I'm thinking about the woman listening, right?
No,
That
and I'm
is
glad you're going there because this is the stuff that a
yeah,
lot of leaders don't wanna talk about, and what
right,
I wanna say to anybody listening is, first of all, you're not the only person to ever be fired, and I know
yeah,
this now because everybody has kind of come to this story, been like, "That happened to you? Oh god, I thought I was the
right,
only one." Because you feel so much shame. This is not, something you're ever proud of, but what it's really become for me is a lot of fuel to my story, and
mhm,
part of the impetus of why I created this company was I did not want any other person to undergo what I had to endure by that terrible leader. And this woman, she lacked so much emotional intelligence. And she even said at one point, she said, "You have really strong soft skills. I don't." And I said, "Oh, I agree." I mean, I told her that to her face. She was terrible.
right,
She wanted a micromanager, and that was never something I was going to do. And so that was a real problem for her and a threat to the way that she led. And an interesting side note, the woman that recruited me over there, she and I are still in touch. And she said, if you came in as her peer, she would have learned so much from you. And I said, yeah,
mm,
probably so. But it was the shove out of the nest I needed. It was deeply painful, but it really propelled me forward with such drive and such intention to teach leaders what looks good. And here's the truth. When I ask a room full of people, who here has had a terrible leader? 100% of the room raises their hand.
right,
If I
right,
say, who here has had a great leader? It's always a lot less. And that's what needs to change. And if you've never had a good leader, you don't really know what that looks like. So,
right.
and I can speak from experience on that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that because as you and I have talked about, and I've talked about openly, is, my position was eliminated.
Yep.
You call it what you want. It's termination, right?
Yeah.
A same day termination, mind you. It's so it feels again, call it what you want. It feels the same. It's
It's a
like, thank
loss.
you for your 12 and a half years of service. Here's a file folder. Go get your keys in your purse and today's
Hate
your
it.
last day. It's a gut punch. And like
Yeah.
you, and like I'm sure many people listening, it's that I'm not the person that gets fired,
No.
right? I'm the person that has always worked my ass off,
Yeah.
more hours than I should,
Yeah.
made the sacrifices, all the things.
Yeah.
And so it it is really hard, but as you said, and as I did as well, and what I would encourage anybody listening is mm, channel that into fuel. And
Absolutely.
I love the questions you asked yourself. What am I
Mm.
good at? What do I love to do? And how can I help people most? What's so important about that is, I spend a lot of time talking about natural talent. What are you good at and what do you love to do? Right? Those
Mhm.
things are, you're playing in your wheelhouse. You added this important element of how can I help people the most?
Ugh.
And that to me really gets at the core of purpose.
Totally, and, when you're in corporate, you don't get to really ask that. The mission isn't yours, the goals aren't yours. You might be able to motivate a team in the direction, that we're going because that's the job, but it's not unless you're at the top and you are, the CEO who has given the missive for everybody to follow, that, we are a people over everything organization, and I truly believe you model culture at the top. That's why my book is called Top Down Culture.
Absolutely.
And so when you're at the top, you do get the opportunity to make those decisions. But if you are, part of the executive leadership team, if you are a VP, a director, you don't. And so when I sold so many things I didn't know what it was. I mean, so much software that if you asked me, Lindsay, what was it? I'm like, I don't know. I had my things I would say and the stories that would go with it, but it was really important to me that whatever it was, I would be selling, and that's the job. When you're an entrepreneur, you are selling. Everyone is selling. I don't care if you think you're not in sales. You're all selling. Um, it was really important to me that it was something I believed in and something I knew could help people, and,
Mhm.
it really makes the work easier when it's something you believe in.
Oh, 100%. Well, it's funny because when I started this practice 3 years ago, I've always said, "I hate sales. Don't put me in sales. Don't make me ask for money. Like, it's not my gift." And, then suddenly you're an entrepreneur and it's
Yeah,
like, well, you're not gonna make any money if you're not
yeah,
selling something. And it took me, and this is probably gonna sound like super obvious to individuals that are in sales, but it took me reaching the point where I realized that I had something that could really help people
yeah,
and that I wasn't selling a widget. I was selling something that I knew in my heart could truly help people.
yeah,
And then it was more like it felt less like forcing a fit and less like sales and more about being just helpful
yeah.
and providing a service.
When you can connect with people and illustrate a good story of how your work helped, people can connect with it really quickly.
Uh,
And, to me, the best sellers are the best storytellers. And, that's always how I sold. That was how I got in the door. And that's how I connect with people. So for me, storytelling, that's the podcast is easy. Being on these shows
yeah.
is fun. Writing
Right.
the books is just retelling the good, the bad, the ugly, all the examples of what you should do, what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And I always say, I don't care where people get their inspiration, just get it. There's so much content I'm
Mhm.
putting out there. I'm really hoping that, whatever that nugget is that they walk away with, I hope it worked.
Right. There's a spark somewhere. Before we leave entirely the IBM to the other
Sure.
company to your own business transition, was there how did you reconcile the leaving IBM and going to this
Mhm.
other organization that you then end up getting fired from?
Yeah.
Was there I assume there was a moment where you're like, "Oh my goodness, I should have never left IBM." Like
Oh, for
that,
sure. For
right?
sure. I mean,
How
first of
did
all,
you
my because of the legacy I came from, my
Yeah,
mother's immediate response was go back, go back, go back. And she envisioned me being homeless, with a tin cup and my children, like, on my back, and that wasn't gonna happen no matter what.
right.
Um, so that whole and I had a lot of people be like, "Well, come back, come back." But I just really felt like, "No, that feels like a step backwards," and I really wanted to take a step forward. And listen, I was gonna give myself here's the thing, I don't like a plan B. I really don't. I think if you give
Yeah.
yourself a plan B, you're giving yourself an out. And so
Mhm.
I was just like, "Look, I can always go back to a corporate job. I have enough connections in this world that if I said I was looking, I could probably land something." But I really wanted to try. And
Mhm.
the coolest thing about entrepreneurship is there isn't really a map. I mean, yes, you can have coaches that will say, like, this is the way you build your business. This is the things you need to be thinking about. And, from a discipline side of like, yeah, you've got to do your taxes. You've got to do like the business operational stuff, which I'm not good at. That's a part of the process. But from a creativity perspective, this was all new. I didn't know
Mm.
anything about writing a book. I never planned on writing a book. I certainly did not know how to podcast, and I had an advisor that was like, "You're gonna start a podcast." And I was like, "Why? I don't even listen to podcasts." And he's like, "Nope. You're good on the mic, you make people feel safe. People will listen. Go get a microphone and let's start. I'll help you with your first couple of guests." And I'm like, "Okay." So there was this, like, a lot of, "I'm just gonna try." And there
Yeah,
was some failure, but you learn from that. There were certainly things that I invested in that didn't work, and that really hurts as an entrepreneur. But I think that's part of learning, and that's part
absolutely.
of, you understanding how to grow. And, big business makes mistakes too. Everybody will. But you have to just surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, who are doing it right, who are doing it better or longer than you have, and learn from them.
Right, right. It's so often I coach individuals uh, who are in a situation, not that this describes your situation at IBM, but they're in a situation where they've been long tenured with an organization and they're just not fulfilled anymore,
Oh, yeah. That's
or the
a
culture's
lot of people in
changed,
corporate.
or right. But their fear is kind of what happened to you. Their
Yep.
fear is, what if I go somewhere and it doesn't work out?
Yeah.
And so that can happen,
It
right?
does.
It also can happen that you make the best change of your life and it propels your career forward. But you're an example of, yeah, it might not go as you had planned.
Yeah.
That's not the end of the rope. That's not the
Well,
end of
and here's
the
here's what
check.
I will say to anybody that is feeling unfulfilled in a corporate role. I would love you to look in yourself, look in your heart, and start a side hustle. You are gainfully employed. So you have money coming in, you have benefits, you likely have a 401k, you have investments, whatever. While you are secure, although nobody's secure anymore, but while you have that money coming in, what is it that you love to do? What really tickles your heart? What gets your motor running? Is it knitting? Is it baking cookies? Is it design? Like, what is it? I don't know. Making tacos, who knows? But whatever that is, start, play with it, and start to sell it and see what happens. And the response from the people in your world will tell you, is this a good thing or a bad thing? But please do not listen to this show and say, "Oh, she did it. I'm going." This shit is hard. This is
Yeah.
really, really hard work. You've got to have a lot of grit. You've got to be strong. You've got to be resilient. You got to make calls when you don't want to make calls. It's not for the faint of heart. But
Hmm.
if you can start a side hustle, can I tell a little story about a side hustle?
Please. Yeah. And by the
Okay.
way, oh my gosh, love I'm a super big fan of side hustle.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're not finding your purpose in your day job, right? Gas is expensive,
Yeah.
groceries are expensive. There's a lot of people out there that can't just, quit and go start their own business.
Please don't.
Side hustles are amazing.
Yeah.
You can go live into your purpose. Please tell your
Yeah.
story.
Okay, so I'm in a community called the Outlier Project, and there was a dad in the community who's a friend of mine, and he's like, "My son just graduated college. Would you talk to him? Because I think he'd be really benefit from your wisdom." I said, "Sure." So Ben sets up a Zoom with me, and lovely, lovely kid, and I said, "I'm going to give you some advice that probably nobody else is giving you." And he said, "Sure, let's hear it." I said, "I want you to start a side hustle." And he's like, "I just graduated college." I said, "I know. You're gonna get your big job, you're gonna do your big thing, but you're probably really good at something like video editing or, social media." He goes, "I'm excellent at video editing." I go, "Well, good news, Ben, because everyone over 40 sucks at it. Because we weren't born with our
Right.
brains attached to a device. And it's much harder for us to think this way. We don't move as fast. Our synapses don't like click the way yours do. So you would have a massive clientele of all these, older creators who are out there struggling, going, 'Ugh, I don't know how to do this." And so he said, "Okay, okay, I love this." He goes, "Could I work on your show?" I said, "I'll tell you what, I have a video that I really would love you to create. I'm trying to do a sponsorship with this major hair brand, and I want to ask them to partner with me. So this is what I'm looking for. try it. And if it goes well, which I envision it will, I am going to pimp you out to our community and I'm going to put you out on LinkedIn as well and talk about what you've done. How's that sound?" He's like, "I would love it." Well, those 2 posts that I did got him 8 clients.
Oh
His
my
side
goodness.
hustle became a full hustle, and then I got this beautiful postcard from him, it's over there, from Argentina, from his first business trip, and he is crushing it. So, every time I think of this, I'm like, "Look, he was doing something he knew how to do." And the
I
reason I wanted him to start the side hustle was I wanted him to have something that was always his. Because if the job goes poof, which we all know they do, yours did,
right.
he has something that is his own and that he can depend on. And look, I have friends who have been out of work for a year. It's really tough market.
Mhm.
You need something to have money coming in, especially if you've got kids, especially if you have to pay for college. You need money coming in. And, to deplete your savings just to survive really stinks. So, yeah, that's why you want to start a side hustle. And if it doesn't work, who cares? You learn something.
I I think that that's such a great story. There's a gal that I've met through the podcast, and she has a book. Her name's Alicia Meek, and she has a book coming out, "Break Up with Burnout." But her whole
Uh,
story is not around burnout in terms of how we naturally think about it. It's around side hustles. It's around if
uh,
you're not getting all of your fulfillment and your purpose out of your day job,
yes.
that's okay. That's not gonna happen for everyone. I sort
Mm-mm.
of have this fantasy that I can, that's the world I wanna live in, where everybody
Mhm.
monetizes what they're good at and what they love and all the things, but the reality is that's not always the case. And
Uh-uh.
so through side hustles, she's been able to spend, 18 years at the same company doing an amazing job, but
Yeah.
getting a lot of her fulfillment elsewhere.
Uh-huh.
So love that. Let's pivot for a moment. Heartbeats, not head count. I
Mm.
love that phrase so much. I always talk about span of care instead of span of control,
Yeah.
hearts and noses instead of, head count. Talk about where that evolved from,
Yeah. I
this
mean,
notion of heartbeats, not head.
Cynthia, I was part of an enormous company, really, really big. And
Yeah,
at one point, I think we had 400,000 employees. Um, and we were acquiring companies like crazy. I had teams that were just thrown at me and they're like, make it work, make them connect and do your job. And inevitably, every leader that works in a large company and even some small companies, you're going to get to the point where you have to do layoffs. And that's never something I wanted to get good at. And they give you a script, and you're supposed to not deviate from the script. And um, I would be so stressed the night before because I understood I was affecting someone's livelihood in a really awful way, and it wasn't something I wanted to do. It was always, we're cutting headcount. It's a cost savings, la la la. And it's a rotten thing to have to do as a leader, but you do have to do it. It's part of business. But when I would get the script, I would say, "I'm gonna read you this script," and they knew it wasn't my voice. They knew
right,
I would
right.
never speak that way, but because I had been such a heartfelt leader and really tried to connect with my people in a lot of different ways, when I had to read that script, it was so obvious it wasn't my words that
Mm,
I remember 3 different layoffs, 3 different people said, "I'm so sorry you have to do this."
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
"Uh, I'm I'm taking your job away and you're sorry?" And they said, "We know it's not your decision." And look, when you're at the top and you do have to make those decisions, I'll tell you a really good story about, some CEOs that got it right. Years ago, Stripe, it was run by 2 brothers, and they sent a company letter out and they said, "We failed. We screwed up. There is nobody to blame but us. We over-indexed on hiring during the pandemic. We predicted much faster growth than we did, and as a result, we have to reduce headcount, and we have tried every way possible to avoid this, but we're at this point where we have to do it. So if you wanna blame anybody, it's us, and we're deeply, deeply sorry and know you have a position here when we're in a position of growth again.
Wow.
That right there is taking ownership. As an employee, you can be disappointed, but you're going to be a lot less angry and you're going to
Right.
understand it a lot more. And it's also going to give you a little bit of positive momentum when you're looking for that next gig because you can
Mhm.
explain, yeah, my position was eliminated not for anything I did. It was them.
Right.
So leaders have an opportunity to step up and show, this is a choice that we didn't want to make. And the ones that like to hide and say, yeah, you have to do this, you have to get rid of all these people, you are only thinking of headcount. You are only thinking of your bottom line, and everyone sees that. So if you
Absolutely.
want to be a true leader that leads with heart, there's a lot of different choices you can make to do that. But hiding behind other people and you say, get it done. And, it's unfortunate. And your people see it. And trust is your currency. So your trust will be shattered across the company. And you're going to have a hard time rebuilding that.
That and right now, that's such profound advice and information for the person listening that leads people that may be in a situation where, they don't have a choice, but they're being commanded, if you will, to
Yep.
reduce headcount. Having spent 35 years in human resources, sadly, thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
individuals, that were part of reductions in force that seem to come annually. A few months before
They're
bonuses were
terrible.
calculated,
Yeah,
and
right.
it becomes you're right, it becomes a trust issue. Your book, Top Down Culture, your best-selling book, Top Down Culture, is that where you explore this and other ways in
Yeah.
which leadership
It's a
can be
lot.
really mastered?
It's a
Yeah.
lot of stories, and it's a lot of concepts with stories to back them up. So, back in the day when the first time we coined radical candor, that was licensed to be an a-hole, right? It was,
Right.
"Oh, I'm so honest with my team. I'm brutal." Okay, that it does not earn trust ever.
Correct.
Um, there is a difference between being transparent and being kind versus I'm just going to let my team have it. They expect this from me. So they expect you to be a jerk. Okay,
Right.
that's inspiring. So there is a way to be honest and to be clear and truthful and thoughtful. You don't have to be a jerk. And I always say this when you become a leader for the first time, you are the topic of everyone's dinner conversation and you want to make it good. So
Mhm.
when someone is asked, how do you feel about your job or how do you like your job? Well, if they answer, it's fine or it's just a job, that's your culture speaking.
Yes.
So when they're mostly answering about you as the leader. So if you invest in your people, if you do your regular check-ins, which anybody listening, if you are not doing regular check-ins and you're relying on your annual reviews, you're doing it wrong. Get out of the job. I'm serious because you are responsible to your people. You have to check in with them regularly. You have to get to know them personally. You have to ask them questions about their goals, about their family, what's going on. You can see on a Zoom if people are not engaged, uninspired, pushing back from the desk. You can see all of that. So, if things aren't
Mhm.
okay. It's on you to figure out why. And if somebody's saying you don't have enough time in your calendar to do that, again, you're doing the job wrong. That's your
Right, it's
priority.
I mean, it's the essential role of being a leader, and
Yeah.
I think about that zone of indifference, right? It's that
Ugh.
it's fine. Well, the "it's fine" is when that call comes in from the headhunter or that new post comes in of that there's a job down the road. That's the person who's looking, the person that's in
Well,
that and you may be that person. Maybe you're the one that's in the
yes.
zone of indifference, and in
And
that
this
case.
the
Yeah,
statistics on disengagement are off the charts.
absolutely.
So when people are disengaged, they are not performing. So everything we're talking about all comes back to ROI. while this is nice and it's warm and it creates a better place for people to enjoy where they spend most of their day, it also yields results. And that's the point. So, I mean, I spent my entire career in sales. So, I'm not saying this because kumbaya and like, let's just be sweet. No, this is how you get it done. And I'm telling you from my own experience, when I had these great leaders that gave me incredible autonomy and I could extend that to my managers and my team, we performed. We hit our quota every single quarter for 3 years straight under one amazing leader. And
Mhm.
that's seriously inspiring stuff. She had an incredibly loyal team. We had so much fun and we were killing it. So
Yeah.
don't for a minute think that all this stuff is fluffy and nonsense. It's major and it makes a huge difference.
Well, and not to mention, I believe that with all of AI and machine learning and technology and so forth, what we have historically called soft skills, and the the person mentioned that you have very strong soft skills are business imperatives. I mean, the bottom
Yeah.
line
Well,
is
I call them power skills.
technology is
They're
yeah,
yeah.
power skills. I was gonna just gonna pivot to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the bottom line is technology is going to carry a lot of the cognitive load for us. It's not perfect at all, but it's getting better and better by the nanosecond.
Mhm.
And I look at that as a beautiful thing in the
Yes.
aspect of it augments that which is what makes us uniquely human. So let's talk about power skills and when you're coaching executives on power skills and how that's really heart-centered leadership. I want to hear more about that.
Yes. I mean, so there's a lot of different power skills. I'll talk about a couple that I really love, but one of my favorites is delegation. And when you think of delegation, you're immediately like, oh, she's just getting stuff off her plate. Well, yes, but it's actually a tool. And when you give people an opportunity to work on a project that they've maybe expressed interest in, and you say, hey, Cynthia, I've got this project. I know you were interested in this before. I have it, but I'd really like to let you shine and let you run with it. What do you think? And oh, by the way, it's mine. So if you fall down, I've got you and I take the blame. I don't throw you under the bus ever. First of all, you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, she has faith in me. She trusts me to do this and this is her work. So I better step up. But everybody else on the team is watching this and they're going, I want to do a project. I want to, how do I get in there? And I've had both situations where I've been delegated to and done beautifully, and then I had one where, like, major concepts were not explained to me, and I got thrown under the bus because of what I produced was wrong, and the blame game, I that shattered trust. I would never work with that man ever again. I was so disappointed in
Mm,
that behavior, and as we said earlier, you can fracture trust in a nanosecond. It's very, very hard to rebuild. But that delegation one, that's beautiful. It's really, really important and creates such a vibe for the team to want to do more. So I love that one, but others are collaboration, communication, um, radical candor. There's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that. But these are all very human fundamentals. And I will say these are simple, but they're not easy. And it's important for people to try. And if you get it wrong, so here's a really, I've seen the worst of leaders. I've seen standing on tables. I've seen people throw things. I've been cursed at. I mean, the worst. You have to own when you've done something poorly. And if
right.
you said something that was flippant and you could see their expression change, their energy shift, the pushback from the table, the arms cross, you have lost their trust. So it's on you on that next one on one to say, hey, I really think I screwed up on that last call, and I'm going to tell you what I think I did. And we're all a work in progress. I hope you'll give me a little grace while I try and rebuild the trust with you. But this is what I did. This is what I should have done. And I'm sorry. If somebody says that to me, I'm like, wow, that's some real self awareness. I want to give them another shot,
Right.
right? Versus I'm going to pretend that never happened.
Yeah.
'Cause good luck with that one because they're
Right.
not going to forget.
That the humility, the vulnerability, that creates connection.
100%.
Because we all blow it from time to time. I've had bad
All of us.
management moments, bad leadership moments, and when you
We
can
blow
say,
it as
"You know what?
parents. I mean, yeah,
Absolutely. 100%." I love the way you talk about delegation um, in such a beautiful way because you're right. People hear that, just the word, and on its own, it sounds like, well, just, pushing off work or,
yeah,
dividing and conquering what needs to get done. It doesn't necessarily have this sort of beautiful coaching, mentoring opportunity that you and I know it absolutely can be. But to your other point, that whole psychological safety around it of I've got you,
yes.
and this is
Well, and
not.
also accepting that failure is a part of growth. And as a
Yes,
leader, as a team, we're going to make mistakes. But how we come back from those mistakes, that's where we learn. And
yes,
everyone knows you don't learn from the success, you learn from the failures.
yeah,
So, understanding that there are going to be things that you don't know, full stop. In every role you're ever going to take, you will make assumptions, you will get it wrong. That's
right,
just life. But as a leader, how you dole out that grace and how you say, okay, let's talk about what happened. Because
right.
obviously somebody didn't tell you this and it's on me. I have to tell you this. It's really important that you get that right. And those teachable moments are the ones that are going to earn trust for many, many moons to come.
I have a story that had a profound impact on me related to that. I was working for a man called Jim Klein, president of Oakwood Worldwide, many, many moons ago, running human resources. And I don't even remember the mistake I made. I don't remember the details of the mistake. What I remember is the context around it, right? So it was sizable. It had a financial impact, and it was sizable. And I went to him and said, "Hey, I've blown it. I've made this, big
Yeah.
mistake, and here's what it is," and so on and so forth. And what was so fascinating to me, and I carried this through in my own leadership from that point on, is he said, Cynthia, what bothers me are little mistakes where somebody's just not paying attention, right? It's
Yeah.
the typos, it's the not proofreading, it's the
Sure.
carelessness. He says, that's the stuff that gets under my skin that frustrates the crap out of me. Big mistakes once in a while are going to happen. We're
Yeah.
human. And it's showing that
You
you've
never
pushed
forget
yourself,
that.
taken a risk,
Mm.
etc., and we'll get through it. And I thought, "Oh my goodness, what a learning moment for me,"
What
because
a
I find
wonderful
myself the
leader.
same way. It's like if you keep making the little stupid mistakes, that kind of stuff makes me nuts.
Oh,
But
my name
so
is misspelled every single day, and it's, like, in my email. Like, it's right there. All you have to do is copy it, and it
right.
just shows me, like,
They miss the
how peop
D. Do they not put the D in Lindsay?
they don't do the Y, they'll put an
Oh, gotcha.
E. I mean,
All
please,
kinds of variations.
I've seen it all,
I
and
love
then I've even had my last name mispronounced on podcasts, which is, like, really hard. So, I'm like, "It's Dowd, like, loud. It's not
yeah.
that hard."
It's
But they don't
straightforward.
ask, and then they just assume, so
Yeah. Well, but I thought it's such a life lesson around great leadership, right? It's
mhm.
like those big things. How do you create that trust? I think is
Yeah.
so, so
Well, and
important.
here's a super easy little one that I'd recommend to everyone, and you can try this when you're doing coffee chats. Doesn't have to be someone on your team. When you meet somebody and you say, "Hey, can I text you at some point?" And whatever that relationship is, hopefully that's okay. Um, and then when they give you information about their partner, about their children, about their dogs, about where they live, put it in their contact info. So when you talk to them again, you pull it up and you'll be like, "How is Jimmy? How are your kids? How's the dog? Last I talked, you were at a puppy." Or what? First of all, that person is going to feel so seen. They're going to feel remembered. They're going to feel important. And that is the easiest way to build trust. So that's just an easy one. So just start doing that. It's
I
just
love
such a
that.
good
So, it's funny because we measure talent in a lot of different ways and individualized approaches. For some people, that comes really natural. They remember
yeah,
names, they remember, your favorite football
yes.
team, whatever your things are. But there's a whole lot of people that don't,
Yeah,
that isn't a natural intuitive talent. And so this notion of jot it down, have it handy.
yeah,
It helps with gift giving, it helps with building rapport and
yeah.
trust. Though that's an excellent one. Talk
Well, and
about
when you have it in your phone, when they
yes,
call you, it's right
handy,
there. And you're, like,
right?
scratching your head like, "Oh, I don't remember their spouse's name." There it
Ah,
is. Yeah.
right. Absolutely. Talk briefly about no personal branding.
Mm. So, building a personal brand was not something I was ever taught in corporate, and as, what I thought my personal brand was my title. I didn't know that there was more than that. And
Right.
it wasn't until I left that I really started to understand you need your own personal brand and finding that voice, finding the way you communicate. That's really important. And so I use LinkedIn. I actually learned everything there was to know about LinkedIn and I teach LinkedIn. I do executive workshops for folks, just private one-on-ones. And um, when we start to hone in on, what is the thing that makes your heart flutter? What is, your zone of genius? What is the thing that you want to be known for when when you have like 12 seconds or something when you see somebody's profile for the first time. So it should be really clear and it should be really impactful.
Yeah.
And don't get all wordy and, cutesy with stuff. Like you just want people to be like, "Oh, I know what that is." Um and so I really learned a lot about my own voice. I write a lot with humor. I do a lot of self-deprecating stuff. I do a lot of, like, lessons learned, a lot of stories, and I try to entertain and inspire and educate, and so when people are following my content, they are entertained, and they're laughing because I've done, something stupid or I've told some story um, but that's how I connect with people, and there's a ratio. You want 70% of your content to be from your zone of genius and 30% it should be the fun stuff and your personality. But I'm going to tell you all this. There is no reason and I did this myself. When you are starting out, I thought I had to be very polished. I had to be very perfect and the podcast had to be just so. And here's a true story. So on my episodes drop on Wednesdays. And on the Mondays before that, I had this very branded, very Cynthia's coming on the show, and Cynthia's known for these three things. And it was my fonts and my colors and your picture, and it was very buttoned up, and nobody interacted with it. And I was like, well, this isn't working. And so a friend of mine said, "Do you know why I love your show so much?" And I said, "No, why?" He said, "I love listening when you've told me who's coming on it. And I hear it in your voice because I listen to you and I get so excited because you're excited." And so I said, "All right, noted." So on Mondays, I do a video from wherever I am in the world. And they've been from Tucson and New York and I've had wet hair, I've had hair in my lip gloss, like wherever I've been, I do these videos and they're very me. Sometimes I flub my words, but I am telling you like you're my friend, like, "Oh my gosh, you have to tune in this week because so and so is coming on the show and let me tell you what he's known for." And now all these people are like, "Oh, it's going to be a good one. I can't wait." And they remember, and then they come back to it. But it's because I'm not precious with it. I'm honest. I'm
Mhm.
telling you from my heart what I think. And that is what people crave. They are not looking for this incredibly buttoned up person who never makes mistakes. That is not
Right,
inspiring. It might be
right,
interesting for a hot minute, but it is not inspiring. What is inspiring is a story of how you overcame something and how you are where you are because of something that you endured. That's what's interesting.
right.
So I've had many, many leaders who got this wrong, and the leaders that got it right, I'm still really close with to this day. And it's because we got the time to know each other on a human level.
Yeah. It strikes me too. I mean, that was I'm still getting there, my
Mhm.
personally, I had to go from I was sort of raised in a very, professional, conservative corporate world, right?
Yep,
It was
yep.
dress suits and heels and pantyhose and all the things back in the day. I almost didn't hire a woman because she had a pantsuit and open-toed shoes. I'm embarrassed to
And
admit.
now
I know, and now I'm just glad you have pants on and shoes, you know? I mean, it's so crazy, I think back, but it has taken a while because you're right, that sort of over-polished, overproduced isn't authentic, and it's not that sort of vulnerability that people connect with, but that can be really, really hard if you have been over-functioning, over-indexing
Yeah,
on trying
yeah.
to compete,
Mhm.
particularly in a male environment, et cetera, right? Where you're trying to find your path. It's changed a lot over the
It
last
has changed.
several
It
years.
has changed a lot, but I think it's changed for the better,
Yeah,
and we're in
100%.
the middle of this transformation on such a global level of what people's, appetite is really now regarding leadership, and, gone are the days where you can jump up and down on tables and curse at people and throw
Right.
things, like, it still happens, but, it's a lot less, and those men that and I say men because the women didn't do this, but
Right.
those men that I was, raised with, they're kind of out of their element now. And
Mm.
they're having to walk back a lot of bad habits. And my favorite leaders are the reformed assholes. They're the ones that knew they were like that didn't feel right. And as soon as they actually made that mindful shift of I see my people and I wanna honor them, and I
Yeah.
wanna fulfill them and figure out how I can make this a better place. Gosh, it's so fun to see the results from that
Yeah.
move, and it's so wonderful to see that admission of that was 100% the wrong way to lead.
Yeah.
And to see them especially be very successful now, oh, I love it. Makes me so happy.
Yeah, if we could just do more of that, right? I've got a
Mhm.
couple clients that I'm still trying to get to transition out of that old mindset into what works today. Lindsay,
Uh,
before I want to take a moment and speak directly to the person listening, but before I do, talk a little bit about all of the ways in which you are available to help
mhm.
and to serve the person listening. We'll have everything, of course, in the show notes, but I want to give you
Yeah,
just an opportunity to talk about what you
thank
do, how
you.
people reach you. Uh,
Thank
you're
you.
such an inspiration.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so you can always check out my podcast. I love when people do, and I love when they say, I heard your show and I want to connect with you. That is always welcome. I have a live show that's on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. It's called The Leadership Lounge. You can come watch there. A lot of the listeners and watchers, they comment, they share their own experiences, which is the whole fun of the live show. You can always check out the books, Top Down Culture and Voices of Women, and if you or your team want some coaching, would love to talk about that. I get to work with a lot of really wonderful brands who have recognized that there's a better way. And the companies that I get to work with, gosh, they're beautiful. It's so fun to get to just unlock how a team works together.
Yeah.
So that has been extraordinary to be a part of and to watch. And to start with one team and then continue on with other teams. It's a real joy.
And
So
remind us
yeah.
the name of your podcast.
Oh, it's the same as the company, Heartbeat for Hire. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you find your favorite show.
Yeah. So books, coaching, workshops, and speaking. Lyndsay Dowd, you guys definitely follow her on LinkedIn and on all of her socials and look her up. Lindsay's story is such a clear picture of the purpose dimension of human flourishing. She didn't drift into 23 years at IBM by accident. She built something real and worth being really proud of. But staying somewhere out of momentum once it no longer fits is kind of what I call quiet drift. It stalls also when organizations invest really narrowly, placing bets on a limited, familiar definition of potential. And that same thing is true for us as individuals. We can outgrow a role, we can graduate. It might have once fit perfectly, but with the discipline of direction, you got to notice that. What are the signals? What is it telling you? Have you graduated? Is it time to move on? Or at a minimum, is it time to start a side hustle that really allows you to unleash your potential and your purpose and your passion? And so I hope that you'll be inspired to do one of those things today. And ask yourself this question, Lindsay, that you started with. What are you good at? What do you love to do? And how can you help people the most? I think that that's a brilliant way of starting to come to terms with where's your true sense of purpose and where's your talent and passion. So, Lindsay, I always finish our episodes with one small thing you would encourage the person listening to do today, not tomorrow, not when the kids go off to college. Not that that's not a sensitive spot right now. Lindsay's twins are getting ready to go off to school in a month, and
Yep.
but not kicking the can down the road. What's this one small thing you'd encourage the person listening to do today?
And we talked about a few on the show, and I would say for sure, I want you to start to consider a side hustle. That's one that I think just benefits your soul and your heart so, so well. Um, the other one, I'm going to challenge everybody to give people their flowers. And this is such a wonderful way to live, but when you see somebody doing something great, don't hold back. Tell them why you think it's great. And this could be the dry cleaner. It could be someone you work with. It could be someone on LinkedIn or on another social who's doing something. But when you start to do this regularly, it will rewire your brain. It will help you change the way you see the world. And we can all use a little more of that. So giving someone the spotlight and giving them their flowers always looks good on you, and it should never be a threat to your own talent. So just start giving freely. Tell people that you love them. Tell people that you're impressed and inspired by them. Um, you will always be thought of well if you do that.
Yeah, and it feels good when you do
Feels
it.
great.
I mean, it
It
feels
feels
as
great.
good I think it feels as good as receiving it. When you see the
Yeah.
reaction on someone's face, I love the phrase, "Give someone their flowers." I think that's a beautiful, beautiful expression. Lindsay, you do that for us. You do that on the daily.
Thank you.
You are such a gift in terms of I just love your candor, your humility, your sense of humor, so many things that make you just this really authentic, cool person, and
Thank
not to
you.
mention just your wisdom and your experience that goes along with it. There's so much individuals can continue to learn from you, whether one-on-one or through following you on all your socials. So thank you very much for being my guest. It was such a gift. I appreciate
It
you.
was an honor to be here. Thank you. You're a wonderful host.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in and the privilege of spending a little bit of your time with us today. Until next time, I've got you and you've got this. Congratulations on choosing to invest in yourself. I know your time is precious. Thank you for spending it here with me. I believe in helping you look up, step forward, and fully realizing your potential. If today's conversation resonated, I'd be so grateful if you'd rate and comment on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you know someone who would benefit, please share this episode with them. Let's stay connected. Visit me at dr-cynthia.com, and you can find me on all the socials at Dr. Cynthia Bentzen-Mercer. Until next time, remember, boldly start working on your future today.